got the picture.
Phenomenal that we have this many people on our first day. It's rainy outside. We chose to do it early in the morning so you guys can get back to work quickly. I'm Marion Miller. I started a business 2.5 years ago. It's only marketing and advertising and website design company that's all naturally grown here in Hopkins County called Complete Marketing Resources. So I've had my head down learning new things, changing things up, and going after my opportunities. And I thought, this is something I'll step back away from, my stuff in my time frame, and I'm going to donate every single Wednesday. I will be here, except for 1 week that you're going to go horseback riding, because this is a great opportunity to network and to find out about what businesses are here in Hopkins County and in this regional area. And it's also a good way for us to promote ourselves as entrepreneurs, to get new ideas and grow and stuff. Jenny has the most amazing coffee shop that you've ever seen. It's in downtown Madisonville. It's very slick. You feel like you're in downtown New York City, basically. She has great products. She does catering and some other things, and I'm very, very pleased to be able to introduce her as the second person that's going to present at Hopkins County 1 Million Cups.
Well, I should have gotten here earlier because I was really hoping not to follow that. It's pretty impressive. I knew it would be. But as I was listening to Scott's presentation, I was thinking there's kind of a reverse parallel, if that makes sense. What he's doing is he's taking a locally grown product and he's taking it to a world market. What I'm attempting to do is take a world, things that are very common in a world outside small communities, and figure out how we can bring them to a small community so you and I can enjoy them and perhaps enhance our standard of living just a little bit. And I don't have a PowerPoint, but I do have a pen. Let's do this the old-fashioned way. First of all, this is my philosophy on the coffee business. I don't do this because I play guitar and I want to entertain my friends or hang out and have conversation. I take this very seriously. Coffee to me, I don't even like coffee that well. I mean, I've never been a big coffee drinker, but I have seen it as a means to an end. It was something that was missing in the community, and everything we do at Big City Market, our goal is to find a niche that's missing in our community and bring it in a small way so that altogether it will work in a small community environment. So if you'll just bear with me here. Okay, we've got big cities, and I'll start from the beginning as far as how I got into this. One of my favorite questions, and I always giggle a little bit when somebody asks me this, that comes into the shop, is they say, they look around, I can always tell when it's the first time out, and they look around, and their mouths drop up a little bit, most of them, and they make the purchases or we talk, and I introduce myself and invite them around the shop. What they say is, "Are you from Madison?" And I say, "Well, yes, I am. I am from Madisonville." However, I was one of those kids that escaped when I was 18 or 20 years old or whatever it was. And I spent almost 20 years in Louisville, not the biggest city in the world, but for a small town girl, it's a pretty big city. And got the opportunity through career and whatnot to see a lot of things, participate in a lot of what Big City has to offer. And when I got out of the banking business and left Louisville, I didn't really have a problem with losing the traffic. That was cool. I didn't really miss losing some, the nightlife and whatever. That was okay. I was kind of full of that anyway and tired. Didn't miss the high-paying job most of the time. But what I did miss were some businesses that I so enjoyed, and lots of people enjoyed in Louisville. Those businesses had been successful for the whole time I was there, and probably 15 plus years before I had made it to Louisville. And I will be the first to admit it, and if you don't want to complain, that's fine, but when we travel out of town, I would be willing to bet that most of you will make an effort to go to one of these businesses that I'm going to talk about. It's okay. We haven't had it locally. We all talk about wanting to buy local. But if it's not available, it's not available. So it's just some of these businesses that just make life kind of fun. And there's nothing wrong with feeling special and having fun. And so there are some main core businesses that I'm trying to go after. One, let's go for the most obvious, is the coffee house business. And it's not just about selling coffee. You can get good brew coffee in a lot of places. I'm sure they make good brew coffee at Brothers. A coffee house is more than just coffee. It's a lot more. It's an environment. It's a place to meet. It's a place to socialize. It's a place to feel special, relax, read a book. You walk in and there's just an atmosphere that makes you feel welcome and makes you want to stay. We have some very regular customers that come and do that same thing. Mary Lou has a meeting periodically, and she and I guess 4 other ladies, they all meet and have a good time. We have others that have meetings there. The second business is, I'm a foodie, and I'm a tough critic when it comes to food. Specialty foods, and I had a place in Louisville called Lots of Positives. It's the most awesome little international grocery store, and you can get everything from 10 different types of olives to they make gourmet cheese spreads, great bread, little bit of everything there. Really fun. If you're having a party, you can walk in there, you can get everything you need other than booze and walk out, and you're good. They also had a lot of takeout items, like they would make fresh pasta, lasagna, things you could take home, put it in the oven, make yourself, but it would be a quality from scratch product. What else? Retail. If you're in Louisville and have the opportunity, I sent Barbie there. There's a place called Butchertown Market that I dearly loved. In fact, that's where I came across my chocolate company, which is Cellar Door Chocolates. It's a female-owned company out of Louisville. This girl is not more than, I'm a colored girl because I'm almost 50. She's 35 probably, and she's built herself quite a company. But in the Butchertown Market, there's all sorts of different retail operations under one roof, and they all work together in this cohesive whole. It's kind of like a mall, but on a much smaller scale and more integrated scale. And you just walk from one thing, one type of product to another, and even though they're individual businesses, they feel like one business. And that's kind of what got me to thinking about Big City and our concept. Deli and bakery. You can get some great baked goods around here at places other than the big city. My concept of this, and we are currently, my husband as we speak is building out my kitchen. We're going to be opening a deli hopefully within 4 weeks or so. We're working on it now. And there'll be nothing fried. We won't have barbecue. There are people that make barbecue around here, and they do a very good job. There's no need for me to do it. I'm not going to make a hamburger. You can get a hamburger. I'm not going to make a burrito. Lord knows we've got many burritos in this town. But what we are going to have, fresh sandwiches, great meat, great bread, great cheese. We're going to have homemade chicken salad. We're going to have fresh sides, hopefully, as much as possible. We'll make salads made from locally grown vegetables, fresh herbs. We'll do cold and hot sandwiches. We'll do by the pound, where you can take, like our chicken salad, by a pound and take it home. But my philosophy is that all these businesses, in standing alone, they work very well in larger communities. You've got a much different demographic base and a much greater population to choose from. In a small town, really not one of these businesses alone would work. You're not going to be able to generate enough money for them to stand alone. So my philosophy is, in the model that I'm trying to create for a small town environment, which we possibly might look at taking to another town. I've had some interest by an investor in Bardstown. It'd be a great, great, great town for this concept. Is to take small pieces of each one of these highly successful businesses from big cities and scale them down to where under one roof, as part of one concept, they will work and they will generate sufficient income and employ people and pay taxes and give you and I the opportunity, if even on a small scale, to get some of those things at home that we search for when we go out of town. So maybe you'll stop by and buy your olives from me instead of going to Fresh Market. They say mine are better. So that's my
questions.
Jenny, I think you've done a beautiful job. And everybody that has not been there, just to sit down with a good friend or somebody coming to town, Kentucky Monthly came to town, I took him to Big City Coffee. And we had a nice little interview, a nice place to visit. Girlfriends meet there to chat, but you should make an effort to bring somebody in there to see what she's got, because it's fantastic, and I can't wait for the deli.
Thank you. Me too.
And I would just like to second that. I brought a friend of mine from New Jersey. I mean, she can look across the river at New York City, and she said, my gosh, Sharon, and this was right after, not too long after Jenny had gotten up and running, not even at this stage. And she said, well, I would think I was at home. You know, and I think you should tell them where you are in case anybody doesn't know.
Oh, we're at 23 Sixth Street. Sixth Street's a bit of a mess, and it's going to get worse, but when it gets done, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be the envy of every small town in the universe. So, yes.
Jenny, in terms of your entrepreneurial journey, first of all, what future goals do you have, and what were some of your biggest challenges as you planned and cranked up your business?
Future goals, once I get all this in the right model, at some point in time, I didn't add this because this is down here. I think the other two businesses that I didn't mention were of my favorites. Was the coolest little wine shop you've ever seen. That wasn't fancy, everything was in boxes, but everything had a label and a description and a rating, and the employees were knowledgeable, and there was a bunch of different stuff that you just couldn't find anywhere else. It was always an exploration in one. The other thing, as far as future, that I would like to see is development as part of Big City of a, I hate to say lounge because that makes you think of the Holiday Inn, but not a bar, if you will, that would be perfectly suitable for you, Karen, if you have somebody from the FDIC in, you want to go have a glass of wine, have a business meeting in a nice, quiet environment. You could do that and you'd be comfortable doing that. You know, it's something, the best way I can describe it is that if Al Capone walked in the front door, it would look perfectly natural, something really cool, very big city, very Chicago. And then I mentioned, you know, if I could develop this product, I don't know that it would be suitable for franchise, but I think it certainly would be suitable for additional locations. And so there's a possibility, if I can garner enough energy and we get this rolling like it needs to roll, that we might look at doing additional locations in similar sized communities and do the same thing, that have the same missing pieces. My biggest challenges, up to this point, our business has been such that it really takes two people to run our shop, most of the time. Now, there are times a day that are traditionally slow, but with the deli, they're not going to be. So much of this will be changing. But I've been stuck between being little bitty, where a single person can run their shop, and not being quite big enough to be able to maximize my employment. So I'm hoping, and I feel confident with the deli and what we're doing and bringing on site. Like we bake. Fortunately, my family has 2-bed and breakfast, and so I have commandeered kitchens at both of those facilities. I use one. I have a girl that works for me that uses the other, but there's a lot of transportation. I have to stop both kitchens. I have to remember, okay, all right, I bought some eggs, where did these go, you know? And so that's been a major challenge that we will remediate once we get our kitchen built, and it should make my life easier. The second challenge, now we've only been in business for 9 months, and I'm very pleased with our progress in 9 months and what we've been able to do in our cash situation, whatever. But and I guess this is something every entrepreneur that has this vision. I've had this dream in my head for like 15 years, and it's mine, and I own it, and I'm having a hard time letting go of it and let somebody else have their way with my vision and my dream. So it's as much my problem as it is someone else's, as far as I really need to get myself in a situation where I find someone that is willing to take this kind of global ownership vision and is meticulous enough to do that, because I think this is a very meticulous business. It's got to be right. But also I've got to be willing to allow them to do that and not critique how the cups are stacked and all this. But I would like to share a couple things that I have done right, and that I'm really glad that I did. The first, if you don't follow our Facebook page, I wish you would, Big City Market Bar. For my business, which is very visual, in a picture, the right picture, and the right little blip will sell the product just like that. I use Facebook almost exclusively. Now I do a few other things, but as far as marketing, Facebook is just incredibly beneficial for me and highly effective. I put a post out, and within an hour, I've got 10 people in my shop, buying that product that I posted. And we currently have going on 1,900 followers, and I'm not pleased with that, given the amount of time we're in business. And so every time somebody likes and shares, and then it gets out to more. So that's been really effective. The second thing, I would probably already be closed down now if I had to deal with payroll on top of everything else. And so technically, I am an employee of People Plus here, and Sharon turned me on to that, and I'm so glad she did. Technically, it's actually called Permco. It's kind of a company owned by People Plus. I pay 5% of my gross payroll to them, and they just handle it. They write the checks, they do the withholdings, they do the reports, they take care of unemployment insurance. I get a better rate because it's a group rate on unemployment insurance. I was able to get myself, my family, and my employees, my full-time employees, health insurance at group rates, which was absolutely impossible to get before we did this. So if you have 5 employees or even 10 employees, if you think that 5%, what can you do with that amount of time? If you're trying to do your books yourself, what can you do with that time? And how much money can you make? Me, I decided I could make a lot more money than that cost me in that amount of time that it would take to do all that. So those are 2 things that I wanted to make sure I shared, that for those in my situation, they have been incredibly valuable.
And I would just like to comment, Jenny, on that. The thing that most small businesses run into, especially in the beginning, like you said, are employees, for one thing, because you want to hire quality employees, but yet when you're as small as you are, and I am, and Mary Lou is, you can't offer the big benefits that they might get working for another company, where they might prefer to work for you in a smaller environment.
Right.
And we just have to look for the best ways to be able to do business. And like you said, I mean, it took me 20 years to learn that, and it took you only a few months.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is, to me, that's what this whole meeting is about,
Mhm.
is to be able to provide others with help as to what they did.
And they can also, in addition to health insurance, we have Blue Cross, you know, they have dental, Aflac, life insurance. I mean, there's a whole menu of potential benefits if they want to avail themselves for that. I don't pay for those, I pay for a part of health insurance. But that's really valuable, and you're right. I mean, I had to do it. If I was going to get the employee that I needed to start a coffee bar, I had to do that. And I'm so glad I did, because it made a big difference for me.
Jenny, if a person wanted to produce an item for your shop, just what you're interested in talking to them about, an item that might fit your model, retail, either or food products per se?
Food products are, I have a lot of people that would love to produce food products, but they're going to have to be, you know, they're going to have a commercial kitchen and be approved by the health department and all that stuff. Our kitchens are approved by the health department, and so, and then our vendors, any vendors we have for the things that we don't do in-house, which is very few, you know, they're coming from commercial producers in Louisville, really, is where we're getting anything else. One thing that I'm doing, what I'm starting to do is choke up on space, and so I'm moving out. That one of the mistakes I've made, I think, to a certain extent, has been on the retail side of it. I need to stay more true to my background and my passion, which is food and that type of thing. I have some, and when we started, I had a lot more originally produced art and jewelry and that type of soaps. We still have a lot of that. But as time, as space gets constricted, I'm having to be really, really picky about that. And I think going forward, at least as long as I have just the amount of space I have, I'm going to focus on anything kind of related to culinary food. We have handmade rolling pins and cheese boards and things that would provide a synergy with some other products that I have. And then during the Christmas season from October to December, then I think that I'll rank up more on the pure retail side of it. But we, you know, like the paintings, for example, that doesn't take any space, and it's great for my environment, and it's just kind of extra for me if I sell one, and we have sold several of them. So we will continue to do that. As long as it doesn't take up too much space, we'll continue to have some of that.
Have you guys doing anything which I would call intimate catering? I have a dinner party for 6 people, and I come to your place and I pick up all the pieces I need, or even certain plates, and I'll take it back to my place and have the dinner party and bring it back. Is that something you're thinking about doing?
Well, that's kind of part of this.
Okay.
Yeah, and my goal is to get refrigerated and freezer merchandising cases where I can have a lot of this stuff and turn a lot of our produced food items into an impulse purchase. That's where I've got to get. You know, we've done gourmet cheese spreads. They've been pretty successful, but they've been where you can't grab it. But yeah, I think that, you know, one of our goals, for example, is we want to have like a day where we do bacon wrap pork tenderloins, and you know, we'll have that ready, and we'll have great sides, and you come, you buy your tenderloin, you know, but we certainly can make pre-arrangements for that type of thing, and we do that for cupcakes and breakfasts and things like that.
I wish you'd do that part of it.
I would.
Because I took part of it.
Yeah.
So when I pick up dinner or something, I'd rather pick up something that's really good quality.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, we're not going to be using any soup base, you know. So I mean, you know, not there's anything wrong with that. I do it at home sometimes, but we will be looking at doing that. Yes.
Jenny, one of the challenges, obviously, for any startup is the required capital up front. And you know, I know how expensive a commercial kitchen is. We have one out at the Paragon, obviously, that's just for our use there. One of the things that's getting talked about in this community is the possibility of a community kitchen being developed that would be certified by the state and the health department and would be available for food processing, food growers, et cetera, folks who don't want to invest or don't have that capital to invest on the front end. They could just make arrangements, essentially fee for services for the time they use it. Is that something in an operation either like yours or others that you think would be valuable to this community?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of great homemakers around here that could certainly do what I do better. If the numbers were right, if I could buy, and I've looked for opportunities to buy a product that I'm willing to sell. I mean, and again, I started this with saying I'm a tough critic when it comes to food, I admit it. But if I could buy it and it made sense for me just to put it in the case and resell it and make enough spread on it to justify the potential for waste and all that stuff, I would do it. I would do it.
Jenny, I have one question for you too. I know when you first came back here and you were working in your family-owned business, and in our conversations you were talking about the downtown and how involved you are in the downtown, and I know you still are. But one thing I haven't heard a lot about today is, how much of your success right now that you have, could you contribute to the amount of time and effort you spent in the downtown area and being involved in community activities? Because I know it makes a big difference, but when you started your business, people knew who you were, they knew your energy level and that kind of thing, and that you did things right, just simply because you were out there in the community letting people know who you were. How much do you contribute that to your success today?
A lot, a whole lot. And in some respects, I had no idea that I would be doing this 5 years ago. I've always had this in my head that wouldn't that be a cool idea. I tried to talk to my parents about doing it years ago when they did the Blackwell's building. But kind of what we've been working on is a layup unintentionally to this type of business, to Amanda's on Main, to Main Street Jack's, to the Crowded House, to Barbie's expanded operations. It's Mark of Distinction is opening today downtown. So everything that we've been working on has been necessary for these businesses. However, these businesses are necessary for us to be able to continue and finish our job. Fortunately, Cliff was one of the first with the Crowded House to say, okay, we all recognize we need some interesting, different businesses. He kind of started that. He said, okay, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And then seeing his success, I figured I could do it better than he could. So then I decided that I would do it. And, our businesses in a lot of respects are very similar in that they have a look and feel that is not Madisonville. And one of the things that inspired me is when Crowded House first opened, I would go to lunch or whatever, and we would be, whoever I was with would be talking. And I was watching these people come in, and it was like, who are these people? I've never seen these people before. It's like they were teleported from some Starbucks in Chicago and just dropped into the Crowded House. Where are these people been? So anyway, they need good coffee too, those people. So that's kind of what inspired. And I credit Cliff and his willingness to step out and be the first one to really do that for us doing it in part for our success.
Well, thank you very, very much.
On your way out, please stop and get, it's not all that big city. We have some hillbilly biscuits outside and that I brought, so please stop and try one on the way out. We have them every morning.
Of course, we'd like to thank our host, Kevin Cotton, Brothers Barbecue.
Yes.
donated by local banks and local individuals. I think the college has brought some. We've got First United Bank, Hancock Bank, other banks. If you are interested in presenting, please go to hopkins.sites.1millioncups.com. Thank you very much. The city's also one of our sponsors, actually our only big sponsor. So we want to thank them very much. Thank you for coming. Our two presenters for next week are in the room right now. We've got David Griffey from the IBAC. He'll be here next week. And Legal Shield. Dillman Reynolds. Sorry, it escaped me. Thank you, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 7:30.